Hello everyone. I wanted to give a tutorial on how to use GitHub as a non-developer. There are lots of them that are sort of geared for developers and involve the terminal and everything. But it's actually very possible to use GitHub without a terminal, and it's pretty straightforward. So I just wanted to demonstrate how this might look. So right now I'm looking at GitHub's homepage. I'm logged in, so I've already created an account. Right here I can click on this little plus button right here and say new repository. So a repository, you can think of a repository as a project. It's basically a folder with a bunch of files in it. So a gist is kind of like it's like a single file project. So we're going to create a repository, and we'll just call this plans. Repositories can be public or private. If they're public, then they're basically anyone on the internet can see it. So I'm going to make this one private. You do have to have a paid account to do private repositories. I think there might be a certain limit that you can do for free, but maybe not. I don't remember. So I'm going to hit create repository. So this is the screen that you see when you're looking at an empty repository. So in order to proceed, we actually have to have at least one file. So one of the standard best practices for GitHub, using GitHub, is you add a README file, and a README is kind of like it's like the home page for the repository. So I'm going to create a README here, and we'll just let's write some text here. So this editor that I'm typing in here, it's basically plain text, and it uses Markdown formatting. So this little hash symbol actually means it turns this line here into a header. Markdown's pretty simple, and there's lots of tutorials online how to use it, so I won't go too much into it. So I'm going to do that. There's a little preview window, so you can see what the text will look like before you save. Okay, so we get down here. We can add a description. We can add an extended description. I'm just going to leave the defaults. And so here we're just going to commit that file. It's like we're going to add it to the project. Okay, so now that our repository is no longer empty, we have a little different view here. So one of the things that we can do right from the web interface is create a new file. So we're going to create a new file. We want to start going to movies, so we're going to add a file to manage which movies we watch. So we're going to create a file called Movie Night. I use the MD extension because that's typically how you name Markdown files. So I'm going to create a Movie Night file, and I want to see The Office Christmas Party. Okay, so that looks good. Now, instead of saving this new file to our main branch called master, we want to get other people involved in this change. So we're going to create a new branch. Think of it like a separate copy of our project with our changes, and we'll name this branch Movie Night, and we're going to create a pull request for this new change. We don't want to just apply this change immediately, because again, other people might have more input that we want to account for. So I'm going to click this button here, and now we're taken to the pull request interface. So we haven't created the pull request yet. We just created the branch with our changes. So now we're going to create the pull request. So this top part here is basically saying what we want to do is take the changes in our new branch and merge it into our root, our main branch, master. So I'm going to call this Movie Night. And the reason that I wanted to make these changes is because I think we should watch more movies. Now, if you have other collaborators working on the project, you can easily ping them using their username. So let's just say there was a user called Bob. So I'm going to be like, hey Bob, you should check this out. So I want to make sure Bob's in the loop on this. And so Bob gets a notification, and he comes and views this PR, and he goes, okay, let's see, what did Stephen change? So he's click on the files change, and you go, oh, okay, so he wants to add a new file called Movie Night, wants to see Office Party, okay. Well, what about Rogue One? Because I like that movie too. So it's going to be like, hey, what do you think about watching Rogue One instead? And so I see his comment, and I think, yeah, that makes sense. I think, yeah, actually Rogue One's probably a more popular movie. So let's do that one. Let's put that one at the top and move the Office Christmas Party to the bottom. So we're going to go back to our branch. So we have to go back to the code, and here we can select which branch we're looking at. So we go back to Movie Night, so you can see there's our file. We can click on that, and we can click this little pencil icon and say Edit. So I actually like Bob's recommendation, so I'm going to do this and put that at the top and make that a second one that we should see eventually. So here I'm going to commit this to my feature branch, because this is the branch with my changes. You could create another pull request off of this, but we're not going to do that. We're just going to update our custom branch here. So now I'm going to go back to the pull request, and I'm going to tell Bob, hey, I made your change. So then Bob can come back and he goes, okay, let's see, let's look at the files changed. Oh, great, Rogue One's at the top. This is perfect. This is what I like. So you can say, hey, I'm going to sign off on this PR. So now I know that this PR is good and it's ready to be merged. I've got everyone's feedback, and everyone's happy with the decision to apply this change. So now I'm going to say merge pull request and confirm merge. And now, since I don't really have a use for this branch anymore, I'm just going to delete it. So now our changes are now applied to master. So if we go back to the code and we're looking at the master branch, we can see we have our movie night file right now with our changes in it. So this is cool. Now, one of the other things that might happen is a bunch of time goes by, and you're looking at some documentation, and you want to know why did we put, for example, why did we put Rogue One at the top? Because I wanted to see Christmas Party. Where did this come from? So I can click this blame button, and blame will give me a line-by-line description of each commit that went into making those changes. And so I can see, okay, so this line here was modified by this commit. So if I click on that commit, and then I go get the full hash there, I can actually search for this commit. And if I go to the Issues tab, I can find the original pull request that contained those changes. So now I can see the full context of why those changes were made, all the discussion that happened around it. So I can get a better idea about where that change came from and why it made sense. One other thing that's really cool is, let's say I'm looking at a file and I see this commit here, and I want to see, maybe there were some other files that I need to see to get more context that have changed since then. So I can click on this, and there's this button here, Browse Files. And so what this allows me to do is see the entire project as it existed during that commit. So if I look here at the movie night, you'll see it just has what I originally put. It doesn't have my latest changes. And this is because I'm looking at a snapshot of the entire repository as it existed at that commit. So this is super helpful because files move around, they get renamed, they get deleted, and so this allows you to go back in time and see what your repository looked like at that point in time. And lastly, there's all these links here. They're all accessible via you can basically bookmark them or email them, so you can link to them in your ticketing system or whatever, and they're permanent links. So I hope this was helpful in showing how you can use GitHub as a non-developer. Thanks for watching.